He knows all too well a dual sword user known as Cassius, not as famous as Linful but still well known, and definitely not someone people would want to find out what he's been up to. Cassius activates a binding magic, Oliva, to paralyze the kid so they can go in for the finisher. Chains rise from the ground and wrap around Ryuki. Everyone starts prepping their best abilities and 3 attacks come flying toward our boy. Cassius knows how parry works. If there's nothing solid for it to counter, it doesn't work properly. And judging by Ryuki's face, looks like he's right man. Glitter explosion everywhere. But when the smoke clears, someone's just standing there untouched. He's got that dumb look on his face while Igon explains that now that the ability has evolved, it can also defend against non-physical attacks. Even so, Ryuki's swinging his sword around, saying he's kind of disappointed. Looks like he'll have to be more careful with long-range fighters. Man, before Darius could even say anything, he took a bullet straight to the chest, dropped like trash to the ground, calling for backup. Our boy says it's really sad to see their boss go down with just one little bullet. He hadn't even started having fun yet. But the guys are completely confused. How the hell does this bastard have a revolver firing in the middle of the fantasy world? Our boy is they're holding 3 massive revolvers, man. Against monsters like golems, they're not much use. But against humans, it's a different story. Especially in a world like this, where that kind of item shouldn't even exist. He warns them that everyone who came after him today is going to leave here crawling. Somewhere, someone's watching a screen, just listening to the sound of gunfire. It looks like a weirdly warped teddy bear saying things are starting to get interesting. Back in the scene, Ryuki's disappointed by how weak these guys are. Igon explains that these guys just play based on in-game stats, right? They don't even try to dodge anything, and that's why they can't handle a gun. Plus, he was keeping them pinned in place so they just stay there writhing in pain. Ryuki walks up with a smug look, saying that as high-ranking members of Linza, these guys probably have some kind of mental defense. Suddenly, he senses something and dives to the side. An attack slams into the ground and blows the whole area apart. Whoa, man, not only that, now a rain of attacks is coming down on the poor guy. He recognizes it as meteor rain, definitely the skill of a certain someone, and he wants to know if it's the person he's thinking of. Right then, a transfer stone drops next to him, and in a split second, Ryuki vanishes. The people in the city are all confused, while Cassius wonders if those guys are going to get personally involved. Somewhere else, our boy is running while attacks keep hitting his back. Man, when he looks back, Linful showed up. What the hell? The guy teleported him? This dude's hacking too, huh? And the bastard says that now that no one's watching, things will get better. He wasn't going to ignore all the noise Ryuki's been making. He already throws his spear at his back and asks if he's ready for the pain he's about to feel. Igon warns that Ryuki's heart rate is spiking. Our protagonist thinks about how he's imagined this moment countless times in his head. He turns to Linful and says the only thing he wants to know is, does he remember who he is? Oh man, the villain with his Alzheimer moment says he really doesn't remember. He thought seeing the kid up close would jog his memory, but nothing. Not a single thing came to mind. So now he wants to know why the kid is trying to ruin his life like this. That hits Ryuki like a brick. He can't believe that the bastard who ruined his life doesn't even remember anything. Then Linful puts a hand to his face and keeps repeating to himself, Ryuki, and suddenly turns and says, yeah, he really doesn't remember. You scumbag. I really thought he was going to say, I remember. But nope, he has no clue. He just asks if Ryuki feels wronged by the fact that he doesn't even know who he is. But honestly, he doesn't care, because now that Ryuki's done all this, he's going to have to pay the price. At the very least, he hopes he won't leave here disappointed. All right, man, the fight's really about to go down now, and Ryuki tells him not to worry. He had no intention of holding back. The two of them are standing still. It's full NM vibes. The beatdown is about to start. Linful charges up an attack at the tip of his spear, and our boy already knows what's coming. He charges forward, super fast. He dodges. Linful gives a little impressed smile that Ryuki managed to escape with that little jump. But our boy curled up like a turtle. Man, he's not looking too brave, hands shaking all over. Here comes another attack from Linful. He manages to block it, but the guy keeps the combo going, man. Ryuki couldn't believe this guy was that strong, and not even parry was giving him a solid chance to defend. Another hit. He's sent sliding backward. Linful says maybe he's going to have to reevaluate the kid. The entertainment wasn't bad. He's tired of this game that's become just a big XP farm. Back in the day, everyone played just for fun. He lands more strikes and says Ryuki is lucky too. He's learning from someone with real talent. He twirls the spear in his hand, comes down from above, activating the meteor strike attack. Man, our boy tries to block, but it stops him cold. Looks like he managed to defend it, but it felt like his arm nearly broke. He keeps reactivating parry while Linful keeps the pressure with the spear. But man, talk about SR sword mastery. That hit flung him away. This time it's me saying, finally. He created an opening to attack, but the bastard was way faster and almost landed a spear in his mouth. Ryuki couldn't believe it. Linful got hit by the parry and still reacted faster than him. Then Linful says it's interesting that he has parry, since that skill shouldn't even exist in the ghost world. So now he's gonna level up the heat and see how long the kid can last. Next attack, Ryuki dodges by throwing his head to the side. Problem is, even when he lands a parry, a guy counters faster than he can even react. Considering he's analyzed Linful a lot already, he knows part of it is thanks to that weapon he's using. Linful charges again, saying he's impressed the kid is still standing. The weapon he's got is the Starlight Spear. Its effect is that the more you attack, the faster it gets. So eventually, not even parry combined with intuition would be enough to keep up. Ryuki goes on the offensive, and finally, Linful has to block something. It's his first real chance to counterattack. and he goes for it. But judging by the change in expression, you know it didn't go well. The spear is already lodged in his chest. Linful says it's a shame. Just 3 more seconds and Ryuki would have set a new record. But apparently he wasn't even worth remembering after all. It was a good fight. That's all it was. He tosses his body to the ground and says that, to be honest, it was actually disappointing. It was ridiculous for him to think he'd win with the abilities he had. Besides, he explains, even if Ryuki wanted to die in this place, he couldn't. That's because it was a free zone for PK. Even though it looked like a village, it was actually an abandoned area. If he wants to blame someone, let it be the developers who left those bugs in the game. I think he explained all that because, in theory, you're only supposed to be able to force teleport someone into a town. Don't know the exact rules. What I do know is that Linful wants to know who's backing the kid, to which Ryuki tells him to ask Cynthia. Suddenly, Linful's expression changes. He grabs Ryuki by the neck, demanding to know if he knows who she is and where that wretched girl is hiding. Ryuki just laughs, saying that it looks like he got betrayed too. It's true, man. I told you, Cynthia, from the Ace Guild. Right. Linful is there, shouting. But our boy's consciousness was already slipping away. Man, he's on his way out. He pulls out a flashbang, and while Linful is mid-sentence, it explodes right next to him. Our boy backs off, and the guy asks if he really thinks he's going to win using toys like that. Then Ryuki says to him, "Stop asking who's backing me. I don't need help to kill trash like you." The blondie's already got the veins bulging on his forehead, and Ryuki tells him that, yeah, he's got that little memory issue, but today he's going to make sure he doesn't forget. That's because now he's going in with 50%. Igon is confused, and Linful asks if he's gone insane. You don't just take a beating and then suddenly say you're going to use half your power. That doesn't make sense. Igon's trying to talk him out of it, and our boy just says he's given up on useless emotions. I don't really get what this 50% thing is. Is he using those CDs? What's going on? Maybe it'll get explained later. Anyway, he charges in, focusing entirely on intuition. He tries to go for a knee strike, thinks about activating Flash Step, but gets kicked straight in the head and slammed into a wall. Bro, all that dramatic talk for this? Before you can even blink, Linful's already launched a spear strike that nearly hits him in the eye. He just manages to pull away in time. Linful says the kid's lucky they're in a no PK area, otherwise this would have ended fast. Ryuki, though, is just realizing that his arm can't take much more. Then the blonde says it'd be a real shame to fight in the city. It'd draw too much attention, and afterward, he gets scolded by the boss. Tired of all that chatter, Ryuki tells him to shut up, vanishes, and suddenly appears behind him. But man, Blondie's grinning again. Without even looking back, he just slashes and cancels out our boy's movement. Then he activates Meteor Rain on his spear again. This time it lands clean. Yeah, our boy's taking a beating. Honestly, I'm with you. I think it was way too early for him to fight this guy. The dude only cleared 4 dungeons so far. The blonde even mocks him, asking if it's time to up the power on that supposed 50%, since he's getting wrecked. Our boy tries to get up while the guy's laying into him, telling him to try a bit harder. It's been too easy. The bastard's even tapping the spear on the ground, saying this revenge story of his is way too weak. He grabs Ryuki by the collar and tosses him into the air, saying it's a shame he wants to keep playing, but now it's time to end this. He launches an attack into the sky that slices our boy clean in half. But just before he hits the ground, Ryuki manages to activate Flash and causes a full-on explosion. Then Linful turns to a window that just popped up in front of him. It's Gabriel, telling him to stop the fight immediately and return now. But Ryuki gets back up and says, wait. Linful can't believe the bastard is still standing after taking that hit straight on. That's not the kind of thing someone can survive with sheer willpower alone. Igon explains that when he's using 50%, he feels less pain, but it also slows down his movements. What he doesn't get is why use a strategy like that. Is he some kind of masochist who wants to suffer longer? But Ryuki just replies that he can't give up there. He needs to take advantage of this opportunity. As Linful walks toward him, Ryuki asks if he's afraid of Gabriel. The guy's expression changes, and Ryuki says, looks like I hit the nerve, huh? Just the fact that Gabriel showed up proves no one's backing Linful right now. He's sure that at this moment, Gabriel must be furious. And in the middle of that conversation, our boy was already drawing a rusty dagger. And when Linful goes to say something, gets stabbed in the neck. The bastard lets out a scream, and Ryuki tells him, calm down, it was just a little cut. Nothing serious. But for a guy like him, who plays loaded with items to reduce any sensation of pain, it definitely must feel different. That's because, well, Ryuki's attacks ignore any kind of pain-dampening items, and the pain still hits the same. Linful's cursing and swearing, but Ryuki just says, now this is what I wanted. Let's see you raise all that hell again. Stop whining and come at me already. Here comes Blondie again. But this time, Ryuki seems to be able to redirect his spear. Now the guy's confused, looked like the kid was reading his movements. And the truth is, it's something like that. Back when Ryuki was still an analyst, he reviewed everything Linful ever did over and over again. He already knows every pattern, every habit, every combat style the guy has. And considering Linful's probably never experienced this kind of pain before, his focus must be completely shot, which gives Ryuki the upper hand. While dodging, Linful mutters to himself that he needs to end this fast. He charges up a combo attack on his spear, saying it's all or nothing now. He activates one skill to boost attack speed, one to power up skills, another to double the next attack's damage, and a final one to increase crit chance. This is a combo he only ever uses on the bosses of the tower, but now he has no choice. He's got to burn it on the kid. Ryuki immediately recognizes it. It's Celestial Meteor Rain. He knows he can use the terrain to his advantage to get away from this guy. He just has to make sure not to step out of the PK zone. He starts running, but Linful gets closer, saying he's still too slow. Until suddenly, bam, a wooden doll smacks Linful right in the face. Our boy starts creating as much distance as possible, setting off a rain of random junk items from those trashy roulette boxes he's always opening. Problem is, Linful walks through everything like it's nothing and goes in for another spear strike from behind. The attack slices half the mountain, and Linful grumbles, saying this kid is seriously annoying. Ryuki is down, but he managed to dodge a direct hit. And now, while holding the spear, he says, "Finally, I got you right where I wanted." Linful tells him to take his filthy hands off that weapon and not stain it with his rotten blood. But Ryuki starts pulling the spear, saying he's excited to show him something really fun. "Oh man, is this it? That's SSR he mentioned way back. The one he said he was saving for Linful. He apparently tested it earlier on Surreal's wings, something that wasn't even a skill or an item." Linful's confused, wants to know what the hell is happening to his spear. And oh man, the spear starts disintegrating. Ryuki had unlocked the SSR system, man, and just deleted his spear. Yep, we're crossing over with that Charles C storyline from the other day. Full system level stuff now. The spear crumbles into dust, and Linful is standing there, not understanding what just happened. Looking at his hand, the dude's on the verge of tears. That was a unique item, and now it's not even in his inventory anymore. This game doesn't even have a destruction mechanic, so how is this possible? He's convinced the bastard is using some kind of cheap trick. But right then, bang, Ryuki shoots him in the shoulder. Our boy says, "I was aiming for your heart, but you reacted pretty fast." Linful's still confused, wants to know where the hell this guy got a pistol. Ryuki just tells him to stop crying and explains, "The very data that registered your spear in this world, it's gone. There's no bringing it back. That's the power of his skill, SSR Delete, a system-level ability that overrides even the game's own authority and erases the data of items inside the labyrinth. The only activation condition, you'd have to hold the target object for 5 seconds, and it can only be used 4 times a week." Linful pulls another spear from his inventory, saying he doesn't know what tricks this bastard's using, but he'll finish him off with any weapon. But at that moment, Ryuki is already backing away, taunting, "Come on then, try and catch me." The idiot comes charging in, shouting that he's not letting him get away. But then, stepping where he shouldn't, Linful steps on a bomb. Man, our boy is the king of FPS, seriously. As soon as the guy got hit by the bomb, Ryuki followed up with more shots to the chest. Then Ryuki says, "You better stand real still, Linful. This whole area is covered in mines." The guy's expression shifts. Once again, this bastard had some item that Linful had no idea how it was even created. And with the very next step, click. Ryuki just says it's stupid to think he hadn't planned for this. Linful's desperate, but our boy tells him to think real hard. Any movement now is extremely risky. And on top of that, he lets him know that this entire setup has been in place since the moment Linful made his first move. That's because Ryuki already knew all of Linful's patterns, and he knew that once he started making noise, he'd be dragged exactly to this spot. All Linful can do now is be grateful for having fallen right into the trap. Linful gets tired of hearing all that and charges toward him. But of course, boom, the mine under his foot goes off. When the smoke starts clearing, he spots something in the distance, but it's clearly a decoy doll. He rushes in, slamming an attack through its head, yelling that he finally won. But only he hadn't noticed what was obvious to everyone. And now Ryuki is standing right beside him, counting down from 5 to 1. At 0, boom, another spear disintegrates. He's got a gun pointed right at Linful's face, and the guy realizes, looks like the kid wasn't lying. Maybe the Starlight Spear really was deleted. Ryuki activates ignition and slams Linful into a boulder. The guy's down, groaning that sooner or later, Ryuki is going to pay for this. But the moment he tries to log out, the request is canceled. He wonders why, and bam, sword to the back. Of course, it's Igon, stopping him from logging out. Ryuki says he's being way too serious to let him run away at a moment like this. He slams Linful's face into the ground and calls out, "Linful Darius, do you remember the guy who used to be an analyst in your guild, named Ryuki?" Linful asks why he remembers something like that. "I'll never remember who you are." Ryuki asks if he really won't remember, even if it means never being able to play again. He reminds him, each person is only allowed 1 account in the game. And what would happen if he used his ability and deleted that account? Maybe then, you'd never forget my face. Linful shouts at him to take his hands off, but Ryuki starts counting. 5, 4, 3. And then we see, when Gabriel first holds someone to look into this Ryu 7017. 2, 1. Linful's still pretending not to care, scratching his ear, saying he doesn't give a damn about that person. 0. The guy screams, and just like that, he's deleted. Now I don't know if he's really gone, if he's ever coming back, or what just happened exactly. But Vigon's praising him, saying he did it. But man, Ryuki, the demon of vengeance, just says he hasn't done anything yet. This was only the beginning. There were still plenty of people who had to pay for what they did. And oh man, behind the rock, there she is. White-haired girl, drawing a blade, probably our dear Cynthia. She throws a dagger wrapped in dark energy straight at him. But what's this? Full-on Giga Chad mode, he catches it midair. He was about to ask who that person was when suddenly, Igon warns him to be careful. In a flash, he finds himself trapped in some kind of strange black cube. It looked like a spatial transfer, but at the same time, something about it was different. Then someone approaches, saying, "It's been a while, Ryuki." He asks who it is, and the figure introduces themselves as Gazazia. He remembers that was the name of the person ranked number 2. The weird thing is, he's never seen this one before. And man, now that I'm saying this, I'm remembering. I spoiled this 26 chapters ago, didn't I? She pulls off the cloak, and I hate to say it, but damn, the woman's stunning. Obviously, though, deep down in our hearts and souls, we will never forgive this woman for betraying our boy. Right then, he remembers that fake little smile and her standing next to Linful. He's having a full-on breakdown, calling her Cynthia, but she says that was just a disguise. Her real name is Asia. Whoa, man, our boy is seriously unhinged now, laughing like the Joker. He says he doesn't care what her real name is. Because of what she did, he got kicked out of the guild, became an unknown, and lost everything he had. And yet she still showed up to find him. That means she must want to die. Cynthia, no, Asia, says she's been looking for him for years. She never imagined he would become a player. Ryuki responds that all of this only happened because of the hatred he felt toward her, Linful, and the entire Ginza guild. So she better get to the point fast, because if she doesn't, he's about to go in for the kill. Asia says he's really changed over the past 3 years, but she'll get straight to it. She tells him he should drop the revenge against Linza. He asks why she's saying that, and she replies that soon they'll start tracking his family in real life, and he should start worrying about his mom. Man, I thought she didn't know, but out of nowhere she says, "Oops, forgot. She's already dead, huh? My bad." Okay, this woman's asking to get sliced. Our boy's gripping his sword now, saying this damn woman must have a death wish. He charges in, saying that if that's the case, he'll gladly grant it. The blade lands right in her stomach, but weirdly, even so, she just dodges to the side. Then she starts running for that dagger, and he's a little confused. That thing looks special. But the second she reached for it, slice. Someone cuts off her hand. Yo, our boy's moving fast. He's already behind her, slashes her neck too, and says she's way too slow, didn't stand a chance. As she vanishes, Aze says she never realized just how deep his hatred had gotten. Wait, vanishing? Not dying, reconstituting right beside him. She says that clearly defeating Linful wasn't luck after all. She says she's leaving now and he fires some shots, but clearly they're doing nothing to her. She says she was just curious to see what would happen. Never thought he'd actually beat Linful. Igon warns him that dagger is a real bug. People keep calling him a bug all the time, but truth is, he just has a broken system. What she's using is something artificially created. He says he doesn't care, but it looks like he understands now. He won't be able to kill her just yet. Cynthia says that destroying the Linza Guild is a job she's going to take care of. She has no idea what trick he pulled to take down Linful, but she wants to see what he'll do when that guy comes back. Ryuki simply answers, "I won't stop my revenge, and I don't care about the consequences." She tries to warn him that he'll regret it, but he just says, "You'll never see Linful again in this game. I deleted his account, and honestly, it was beautiful watching him cry." And he guarantees that when he finds her again, the outcome will be the same. Still, I'm curious, did you really delete the guy's account? Can you actually delete someone permanently like that? 4 deletes per week? That's busted. Outside the scene, Ryuki notes that damn bug woman really managed to shut down what he could do. And the most terrifying part was that strange dagger she was using. When she threw it, apparently he should have dodged instead of grabbing it. But at the time, he didn't feel any danger from it. He's going to need more info and allies to figure out exactly what that thing is. Then he asks Igon if that thing is ready. Igon says yes, the dates line up. They're finally going to meet the person who creates the mods. And it looks like this time, it's that creepy little bear, who, by the way, was watching this whole mess go down and was thinking of logging off. But yeah, Ryuki's totally hacking, man. He's watching through some virtual screen and tells the teddy bear straight up, "I'm not letting you log out." The bear apologizes, saying he was just watching the fight out of curiosity. But our boy just replies, "We're meeting tomorrow, 8 p.m. at Suzuki's shop." Ah, so that's what was going on. He was watching everything through the screen in Igon. Now it all makes sense. The bear agrees, says he'll meet him there, but he wants to ask about a strange signal drop that happened earlier. Ryuki realizes that even this guy didn't really understand what Cynthia did. Since he doesn't feel like revealing anything, he just replies, "You've asked too many questions for someone in your position." Next scene, we're already arriving at Suzuki's shop. Our boy walks in, complaining, "This is ridiculous. I take around time and the guy doesn't show." Suzuki asks what he's talking about. Hadn't he noticed? The mod creator's already here. Ryuki grabs him by the collar, telling him to stop joking around. But suddenly, someone says, "I'm here." When Ryuki turns his head, the teddy bear comes down the stairs and says he's the one who creates the mods. Man, I thought he'd be bigger, but our boy just picks him up in one hand. He's tiny. The poor bear's squeaking that he's being crushed while Ryuki yells at him to cut the nonsense. Out of nowhere, Suzuki throws himself onto the table, and our boy's like, "What the hell is going on now?" Then the bear says it's probably easier to show than explain. In that moment, he was moving his consciousness. The person talking to Ryuki is the mod creator named 5555, and at the same time, the person across the counter speaking to him is also him and also Suzuki. Looks like the little robot now has Suzuki's voice, right? The author of this story didn't really think through the whole voice switch setting for identifying characters in the manhwa, huh? Ryuki doesn't believe it, but Igon confirms it really is the same person. Seems like it's a consciousness that manages multiple bodies, each with a different personality. Then Ryuki realizes the nutjob must be using some sort of mod to alter his own personality. The teddy bear puts his hands on his hips and says, "Finally, you figured it out." Then he congratulates him for killing Linful, says the ending was incredible. He wants to know how he made the guy disappear. What are the limits of the ability? How many times can you use it? Is there a cost? How does it work? Looks like the voice changed again. so our boy knows this is now 55-55, the mod creator's core personality, not Suzuki's. Ryuki says he's not answering anything until he tells him who he really is. 55 says he'll get to that, but first warns. You need to be careful. Don't let anyone find out you have the delete ability. Ryuka just shrugs and says, too late. Igon had already recorded, edited, and uploaded the whole thing. From now on, this fight with Linful would go all the way. 55 is freaking out. You're insane. You broadcasted that. The whole Linza guild was going to start hunting him in every corner of the world. Ryuki replies, that's exactly what I want. The bear gives up, man. He's already realized that this kid wants to be hunted. Then he asks if Ryuka even knows who's really chasing him. Our boy's a bit confused, but then the bear logs out and Suzuki gets up. He snaps his fingers and says, okay, let's take a look at this first. Holographic aerial view pops up -100 meters around the mall. Behind a wall, we see those gangsters from way back at the start. Ryuki's actually a little sad that those losers still haven't given up. But the most important detail is the other guys right in front of them. It's the Iron Blood Group, a criminal syndicate that rules the underworld. Fortunately, they had no connections to Linza. The boss of that group retired after an accident. Rumors say that Linza caused that accident. Ryuki gets what Suzuki is implying. These guys wouldn't have ties to Linza since Linza screwed over their people. But now he really wants to know. Okay, but who are you, Suzuki? The shopkeeper replies, all right, since you figured it out, it's time we went somewhere a little more appropriate. Next scene, they're walking through the sewers and Suzuki says that he and all his clones share the same goal and are looking for allies to help with it. Meanwhile, Igon is running an analysis and tells our guy that, at the moment, he's not in any danger. Then he enters a room full of puppets and Suzuki explains that this is where he keeps his best creations. Our boy approaches one of them and Igon says it's impressive that a human was able to create something like that. Ryuki, however, isn't that interested in those bodies and asks if he should call them 55-55, Suzuki, or what. Suzuki tells him to call him Suzuki when he's human and 55-55 when he's a bear. That's when he's in hacker mode. My god, son, give me a real name already. Suzuki then says he's going to explain exactly who he is and Igon pulls up some data. The name was no name, the age between 20 and 30, and the gender was female. Okay, you can come out of the shadows now, girl. And the damn girl says that's all anyone knows about her. Obviously, Ryuki's confused since that's basically nothing. He asks if she really doesn't know anything about herself. Could it be that these personality shifts mess with her head? She answers yes, kind of like that, and asks if he's ever heard of Accident 707. It was a plane crash with no survivors. But the truth is, there was one person who made it out, burned to a crisp but still alive. That person was torn apart in a lab until there was nothing left, and then a crazy guy shoved her inside an android body. Damn, boys, the dream of meeting a badass waifu is dead. She got barbecued. And it gets worse. He asks if she's the sole survivor, and she says actually they are. As a result of the experiment, she had countless memories implanted in her. She doesn't know if they're souls, minds, stories, or whatever, but she can control each one artificially. Ryuki's already realizing there's no way to make sense of this crazy girl, so he just asks what kind of deal she wants. Suddenly, she tosses him a notebook saying she wants in on the revenge too. Online, all anyone's talking about is the beatdown Linful took along with his guild guys. He didn't even look like the same person anymore. The only thing people found weird was that the whole deletion thing seemed fake. Especially because, in this game, deletion isn't allowed, so, it should have been impossible. But then the question is, if it's fake, why hasn't Linful shown up and proven to everyone it's a lie? Well, there he is, Linful, Phi, surrounded by bottles and drunk. He throws one at the wall and looks at the system window. It says account verification failed. No data found. The dude laughs, saying not to mess with him. It's impossible this could have happened. He was Linful, the strongest in Linza. The good thing about our guy not having a waifu, a mom, or anyone, at least there's no one for them to take revenge on, right? Only thing left is to beat him up. A little earlier, Linful was banging on the table, calling for his brother and asking for one more chance. But Gabriel says the idiot ignored him, went to fight alone, and even lost his own account. Obviously, now he's screwed. Linful was freaking out, saying he got caught off guard. He just needed a new account and everything would change. From now on, he'd do whatever Gabriel said. All he needed was someone else's account or a creation pass. Gabriel, however, just says that for someone who's been playing for so long, Linful is pretty damn ignorant. He's ashamed to share the same blood. The rule is simple. One account, one person, that's it. If he lost it, there's no way to get it back. And now his time is up. Damn man got kicked out by his own brother. Linful tells him to stop being ridiculous. That useless loser actually became a player, so why couldn't he? He breaks free from the guys and tells them to move. He's going to fix this. Yeah, right, you're gonna fix it. Already got tossed out like garbage. The brother says there's a lot of mess to clean up now, so Linful better never show his face there again. The dumb blondie can't believe that the guys who used to be scared to even look him in the eye are now treating him like this. That's when someone comes up from behind and asks if he's Linful Darius. But the blonde guy just tells him to get lost. He's not in the mood, and it's better for bums not to get close. Still, the guy hands him a cart and says he's there to help him. Apparently, Linful's in need of the kind of power they can offer. He asks if he's interested in hearing the proposal. If I'm not mistaken, that's the same guy from that room with the Age and V cards, right? Back with our player, he found out that Linza is holding back the progress of all the other players in the Ghost world. Looks like it's some kind of trade-off between them and the developers, since that way the devs have less work and give them a few perks in return. Hygon responds that they're truly pathetic. No wonder the final product, this game here, is just a buggy mess. Then Suzuki says this is a secret pact between the Linza Guild and Rathian Soft, the developer. But it was ridiculous that they made a pact like this just to delay everyone's development. Ryuki says he gets it, but the whole game is basically backed by Yggdrasil and Rathian Soft works for them. So how are they supposed to go against a company that practically has the whole game development in its hands? Suzuki responds that they need to be eradicated from this world because in the past, they used to lead the development. But now, they're just rotting and holding this place back. Ryuki says her hatred seems way too intense for something that simple. That's when she brings up the plane crash, the 707 accident, and explains that what exploded that day was an item taken from Yggdrasil. Obviously, he immediately concludes that she must think Rathian, the developer, was behind it, and she answers that she's sure of it. Ryuki knows that just killing the Linza Guild would already be hard enough, but taking down Rathian would basically mean destroying the ghost world. So he asks her if that's what she wants. She says they don't need a dumb game like this, even if it supplies half the society's resources. Everything Rathian's been releasing lately is nothing but garbage. And because of the lack of progress in the games, the resources are slowly drying up. Things are stable for now, but in 5 years, there's no guarantee they'll stay that way. They can't let a bunch of incompetent people monopolize the development of the gods game. Ryuki knows the main objective of this game was to conquer the Demon Tower. The problem is, Linza controls everything here. He was planning to take over that place too. On the other hand, Suzuki's plan is basically to destroy the entire platform. That's when Igon tells the master that they should go ahead and do it because for a game of the gods, this so-called ghost world is just a poorly made piece of trash. Just a dry, withered branch trying to hang on, and they need to help it get cut off. Ryuki then says he really liked the story but apparently forgot the reason he came there. He stretches out his hand and tells her to hand over the mods. Later on, climbing the stairs, Igon says that this disguised mod, one of the 13 new ones he received, seems pretty good. Ryuki says it really was an interesting trade, but he's still curious to know more about that incident she mentioned. Igon confirms that the incident did happen and one person survived, but it couldn't be confirmed that it was Suzuki, especially since humans are creatures that should never be trusted. Ryuki agrees, and as he's coming out of the sewer, he says they should be near the Hotel of Pleasure, which is a safe place to exit. But as soon as he tries to leave the hole, there's that blonde guy looking kinda messed up. Ryuki goes up to him to see what happened, wondering if the guy was drunk. But that's when he sees there was a digital drug installed on the guy's neck thigh. The area is known as the Pleasure District, so it makes sense someone would have used something like that there. Suddenly, he hears someone approaching and takes off running. A guy with a white jacket tossed over his shoulder, full one-piece style, says that apparently this one's gonna be a real handful. Igon immediately notices they're wearing the same clothes as the guys who were watching our boy through the window before he entered the shop. That the guy in front with red hair says that this bastard keeps making them run back and forth all the time. He grabs the blonde guy by the neck and says the bastard ran here after stealing what belongs to them. Smacks him in the face while Ryuki is just hiding there, watching everything go down. The redhead tells him to grab the guy and take him, lights a cigar, and asks if they lost the target. The guy next to him apologizes but says they'll start tracking again and will find him soon. Apparently they're actually hunting Suzuki, says that bastard is extremely cautious. But it's all good since the client just asked them to keep an eye on things for now. The guy is told to head back to Jushin Street and keep watch. He complains that keeping watch there hasn't really helped much. The boss crushes the cigar and tells him to just do what he's told. That's when Igon comments that this wasn't Suzuki's doing. Both of them seem to be targets right now. Our boy just asked to be taken through a path with the fewest people. A while later, he reaches a door, opens it, and finally he's alone and can get some rest. After weeks in that cursed game world, this was the first time he could really relax. He spread his arms and smiled, but then a sword came flying, nearly hitting him on the bed. Man, he reacted quickly though, already activated the sword saint and sliced off the attacker's arm. But the bastard, even while bleeding, jumped right out the window. But now Ryuki's also losing it, turning into a psycho. He's all happy the guy used an item from Yggdrasil. He jumps after him and tells Igon to show him which path they're going to follow. Thanks to the trail of blood, at least it's easy to track. Ryuki explains the guy was using invisibility and a presence-concealing item. Basically, game items converted into real life. Our boy just keeps going and soon sees the guy turning the corner. When he gets there, the person's back is facing him, and he tells them to reveal their identity. Who sent you? Black Snake or Steel Blood? But the guy just raises his sword, fills it with money, and goes for a slash at Ryuki. He manages to dodge, but the guy's slash was so precise it left a gash in the ground. That's when our boy says the weapon seems excellent, but the swordsmanship wasn't that great. The attacker moves, and in a second, Ryuki's already behind him, grabbing his hand. He pinches the guy's hand hard, making him drop the sword. Our boy comments that now he could finally get a good look at his face. Then he laughs and says it's amazing. The former ace of the guild is now an assassin. It was truly pathetic, the state Linful Darius had ended up in. The guy's desperate, yelling at him to shut up. Now I want to see what wickedness our boy's gonna do. Will he kill him or not? What's it gonna be, kid? Linful dashes forward to grab the sword, yelling for him to die, but gets hit with a brutal knee to the chin and gets tossed to the ground like garbage once again. Our boy goes to pick up the sword, wanting to know where he got this terrifying item straight from Yggdrasil. Apparently, he couldn't use its abilities unless it was inside the in-game inventory, but even so, it was still a chunk of metal sharp enough to cut. Linful's panicking again and runs off once more, terrified. But man, Ryuki just chases after him, saying that wasn't the best choice. Linful is trying to understand how that bastard got so strong and tells himself there must be some kind of solution. The kid might be strong and getting famous, but in the end, he was still just a nobody. That's when people nearby start looking around and seem to recognize Linful. They ask why there's blood on his hands. When they see the sword in his hand, everyone also realizes it's probably an item from Yggdrasil. And then some voices start recognizing the face of the famous Ryu 7017. They know he had already defeated that guy in the ghost world, so why were they fighting here in real life? That's when Linful says to our boy that the biggest crime he committed was that a nobody tried to kill a gold-ranked player like him. That was the worst possible crime, especially now with so many people watching. The testimony of a nobody holds no legal value, so what's he gonna do? Ryuka just drops the sword on the ground and tells him to go ahead and arrest him then. If what he's doing is legit, then Linful should just kill him right now. That way he'd be considered innocent. This was his golden chance. But of course, that's if he could actually do it. Linful, poor guy, he knows the kid is planning something, but the desire to kill that bastard is just too strong. Still, he's sure the guy is bluffing. And on top of that, there are tons of cameras around. You can't go through that kind of humiliation again. But greed speaks louder. This was the perfect chance for him to revive the name Linful. He grabs the sword and charges in, but Ryuki dodges, saying it's sad to see how ridiculous Linful looks with a sword. It doesn't even feel tense fighting like this. Linful keeps swinging and swinging, but Ryuki's just laughing. Fighting someone like that who used a spear his whole life, it's just funny. Linful asks how long he's going to keep dodging, but then takes an uppercut to the chin. Our boy tells him to stop thinking this is some kind of duel. He's only hitting him because he's trying to draw out that brother of his. Linful is devastated, humiliated again. He sends out a flurry of attacks, but Ryuki keeps gaining distance and dodging. Then suddenly, Ryuki stumbles over some rubble and Linful sees his chance. He jumps in with the sword, saying now he's going to pay the price for trying to humiliate him. But just as he's about to land a massive slash, Ryuki blocks it with a tiny dagger Phi. Ryuki tells Linful to be careful. Not only is he wrecking the city, but he was about to kill innocent people. The blonde asks what he's talking about, and then it's revealed that a girl had nearly been hit by his attack. Meanwhile, other citizens are fleeing, yelling that Linful has gone crazy and is attacking everyone. People are running away from him in a panic. That's when the fool realizes Ryuki had blocked his line of sight. He didn't even know what he was doing. He turns to yell at the protagonist, but it's too late. The injured citizens are recording everything, saying they'll make sure the whole world knows about it. Now what can he do, right? The guy's just standing there surrounded by cameras, trying to make up some excuse. But Ryuki says it's going to be hard to explain why he used a sword on innocent people. Linful turns to strike again, but it was other civilians, Phi, not Ryuki. Now he doesn't even know what to say anymore. He tries to explain that it was all because of that damn nobody, but it's already over for him, son. Ryuki then congratulates him, saying the useless life he led has finally come to an end, and asks, "Do you remember my name now?" Finally, that bastard seems to remember something, that time when he put a hand on Ryuki's shoulder and told him to stop with those trashy guides. He left with Cynthia in his arms, who ended up betraying him too. Right, he got completely screwed. What fool. He screams our protagonist's name, but the scene already cuts to all of this being reported on TV. Linful was arrested, and of course he had all sorts of excuses, saying everything was a setup by that bastard Ryuki 7017, but the authorities didn't buy it. Watching all this unfold is Gabriel. When the red-haired guy comes over to grab something, his expression instantly changes. Linful says that from now on, they're going to mobilize the entire Linza Guild. They weren't going to overlook any method, even if they had to shut down the ghost world completely. They were going to find that bastard and settle things once and for all. Honestly, I wish our boy had killed Linful, but thinking about it, what he did might have been worse than death, because if you kill someone, they're gone. It's over. But now, Linful's stuck living this miserable life, just another wrecked convict nobody cares about. Meanwhile, his dumb brother is the one stuck having to give interviews to explain everything. He tries to tell the reporters that Linful had already been expelled when all that happened and was no longer a member of the guild. That's why he wants to make it clear. From now on, anything involving Linful has nothing to do with Linza. But the reporters want to know if it's true that Linful's account was deleted and whether it really was that Ryuki 7017 who did it. Gabriel just replies that they're still investigating, but yes, it seems that Guy Ryuki declared war on the guild. And not only that, a power that can delete data from a game is extremely dangerous. That's why he's now considered a risk factor, and they're going to mobilize all guilds and resources to take him down. He tells the citizens not to worry. Linza will protect the ghost world at the very end. Ah, sneaky little thing, they're trying to paint our boy as the villain now, huh? But on the internet, Phi, everyone's on Ryuki's side, laughing at Linza, saying that bastard's already in hiding and they're never gonna catch him. People are even starting to wonder what rank the guy is. Some say gold, others say platinum. Meanwhile, that researcher woman, Laguna, is furiously hammering her keyboard. A month had passed since the Linful incident, and Ryuki still hadn't posted a humble little video. A red-haired girl, about 1.30 meters tall, and with 80% of her weight in her thighs, asks what Laguna's doing there all alone. Turns out this girl's name is Bisque, and Laguna wants to know where the leader is. Apparently, she's from Linza too, and says that Gabriel went to meet with that pig. Laguna comments that they seem to be working hard, and Bisque says yeah, they are. Everything in this game is a complete mess because of that damn Ryuki, or whatever his name is. She can't understand why they just won't accept that Linful lost. Maybe because the guy has a bug no one knows how to counter. But Laguna stands up and says she doesn't get it. What Ryuki is doing goes against common sense. Bisque then asks, so where's this guy who defies common sense? Looks like everyone's trying to hunt him down and no one can find him. Laguna goes to answer that that's exactly what she wants to know. but bam, something pops up behind her. A new video just got uploaded. Meanwhile, in the Rathian Company Operations Center, someone asks if they still haven't found that damn Ryuki. Gabriel apologizes to the fat guy, who says apologies won't work. He's already said it, just kill the kid in real life if you can't find him in the game. After all, he's just a nobody using hacks. How hard can it really be? Man, I think they went overboard on this dude's design. His head takes up like 1% of his body. This guy is Duke Stevero's CEO and developer of Rathian and a platinum-ranked player. He asks if it's true that resource farming in their main game, the Ghost World, is declining. Looks like Linza Guild is just becoming a bigger disappointment every single day. Gabriel's there apologizing, thinking to himself that he's sick of dealing with this outdated garbage. The fat guy, however, says it's fine, that thing was just a relic that would soon become obsolete anyway. The only issue is that it would be kind of inconvenient if the game collapsed right now. It needed to stay up until his masterpiece was finished. Then he says he's going to show them the game that will reshape the entire industry. At that moment, a video window pops up in front of him. And for everyone in the city, Phi, who has notifications turned on for Ryuki's channel, he just posted and it appears for them. You guys could take after those honest citizens, right? Turn on the notifications here on my channel too. Our boy raises his hands and welcomes everyone, introducing himself once again. He's standing in Minecraft-like world saying that they're calling him an enemy of society. But to him, the ones who truly deserve that title are Linza and Rathian. But no rush, because soon enough, he's going to destroy the Ghost World. What he really wanted to show today was what's coming next. A game called Thump Builder, which used to be a hit, but was later abandoned. Usually games like that don't just get abandoned, they get destroyed. So the question is, why are games destroyed like that? He explains that there are games focused on gathering resources and others focused on fun. This little cube world, like Minecraft, is in theory supposed to be fun, while the Ghost World is entirely focused on farming and grinding because that's where the fun was supposed to come from. Obviously, with games like Ghost World, once the resources run dry, the game shuts down because that was the only reason it existed. This Minecraft knockoff, however, was destroyed for a different reason. Right then, a massive heart appears above, and he says that's the god of cubes, the divine entity that basically keeps this world running, but also turns it into trash. Then he pulls out his sword and says he's going to show them how each world can be destroyed. Bisque is confused, wondering how he's doing something like that. Both she and Laguna are thinking the same thing. How the hell is he using a weapon from the Ghost World in a completely different game? The god of cubes starts attacking, swinging first as Ryuki explains the real reason this game failed. It's because this damn god kept destroying everyone's builds. It was supposed to be a fun game, but no one had fun because the difficulty was insane thanks to that bug. He jumps from cube to cube, closes in, and asks, what happens when they destroy the thing holding the world together? He plunges the sword in, the cube rises, and he places his hand on it, explaining that when a severe, irreparable failure occurs in the system, the game is supposed to collapse. Then he activates the SSR system and uses delete. The cube begins to disintegrate and explodes in the sky. Suddenly, everything around him starts turning into a mess of pixels, and he says that now that no one's managing it, this place is going to be undone. Ev is asked if he's really destroying the labyrinth itself, and Laguna realizes he just used the same ability that destroyed Linful's spear. Our boy opens his arms and says, as you can see, if you destroy the thing holding a game together, it disappears. And very soon, they'll see the same thing happen to the Ghost World. Gabriel, during an interview, had said that without the Ghost World, the real world would collapse. But the only thing that's going to collapse is the greed of Hatina and the laziness of the Linza Guild. And Ryuki guarantees, they're next. Man, and all this chaos just to announce that he's planning to end the game, huh? Next scene, we see a group entering a dungeon in the Ghost World. Apparently, there are wanted posters out for our boy, Phi. In fact, right in front of the dungeons, there are always a few guys posted up, holding his wanted poster, checking who they'll let through. Players are starting to get pissed, both at Ryuki, for making everyone go through this mess, and at the Linza Guild, for making them go through this mess too. Man, the guy orders everyone to take off their gear and drop all their items on the ground so they can inspect them. That's when the guy with the helmet starts pulling out a pistol and you already know who it is, Phi. Right away, everyone gets on alert. Only one person had that weapon. And our boy shows up, saying it must be hard for them, spending the whole day chasing him like this. He gets ready to attack, saying it's time to test out some new abilities. A little warm-up before entering the dungeon. One of the skills he got is called SR Sword Draw. Basically, he unsheaths his sword really fast, delivering a slash with a boosted chance of a critical hit. Then he switches to another sword, a blue one, and finishes off the other guy. That was the Soul Finisher sword, which always lands a critical against spiritual-type enemies. A guy with an axe comes from behind, yelling that he's an arrogant bastard, only to take a punch right to the face, son. Bro, the guy literally turned into a puddle of blood from just a punch. Our boy says this is way too easy. What were they even doing this whole month? That scene was actually a month in the future, and now we jump back to a month in the past, right after he made his big announcement. He decided to go back to the labyrinth and search for other games, since for now, he'd be hunted non-stop in the Ghost World. So he heads into one called Celestial Blade Online, a martial arts game. But it was too easy to beat everything there, and he still wanted more power. He needed enough power to go up against Rathian and Linza all by himself and not lose. He died once to the boss, and again and again. The old man, in-game, yells that it's ridiculous. Even after taking so much punishment, he still believes he has a chance. Because he's so persistent, the boss says he'll show him the peak he's reached. This was the Sword Demon, the final boss of that game. Ryuki punches the ground in frustration, shouting that even if this guy is the final boss, he's too buggy and insanely hard. The problem was that it's an abandoned game, so there were no real strategies and no one had even tried to fix it. Back to his usual ways, Igon tells him to try his luck on the roulette wheel. Maybe he'd get a legendary ability that solves everything. Ryuki shoves the robot away, saying he's already told him that those points are for upgrading skills. But then, something seems to click. Cut back to the boss, who asks why he doesn't just give up already. He should realize how dumb it is to keep trying the same thing without changing strategy. But Ryuki walks calmly through the gate, saying he's heard that line so many times he's got it memorized. No more chit-chat. The old man better just come at him already. The sword demon calls him an insolent piece of trash and lunges toward him, saying no one insults him in lives. He launches some purple slashes and Ryuki starts dodging. Once again, he's dealing with a completely unbalanced combo attack. Then the boss gets behind him and says Ryuki talks big for someone with zero chance. Ryuki manages to block the attack, and the boss even compliments him for at least surviving. But at that moment, Ryuki had dropped a grenade right behind the guy. Looks like he came out unharmed, but while following Ryuki Man, the boy starts dropping a bunch of grenades. The sword demon keeps chasing him, yelling that a sicko like him won't win with some dumb strategy like that. One of the things he slashes happens to be a gas grenade. Ryuki instantly puts on a mask. But it wasn't gas, it was a stink bomb, and the boss has to cover his nose. Our boy also puts on earplugs and anti-flash goggles, while throwing flashbangs and sonic grenades like crazy. Everything explodes, and the boss in that moment couldn't smell, couldn't see, couldn't hear. That's when a bullet hits him right in the forehead. The boss drops to the ground. Even if Igon says this was the dirtiest strategy he's ever seen a human use in a game, our boy just replies, I use human technology, grenades, bombs, flashbangs, and guns. There was no way that martial arts boss would know how to deal with all that. Just like the Black Knight, this guy was a bug, which is why Ryuki earned 15,000 points. Back in the present, he's still impressed. That sword key thing is insanely powerful. The ability itself is pretty simple. It boosts physical strength. But since it came from a bugged boss, clearly there's nothing simple about it. He waves goodbye to the crowd, telling them to say hi to Gabriel for him. The boss of this dungeon was known as Liganen, and it seemed like his specialty was being able to use aura as if it were part of his own body. What the hell, Phi? Next scene, the boss is groaning in agony. Our boy had summoned this Ramuth in its child form, a shadow creature, basically a pet that could absorb the shadows of other creatures. So yeah, since the boss focused on aura, he got absorbed. Or maybe it wasn't the boss. Maybe it was just the first creature in the dungeon. Or am I going crazy? Nope, that was it, and he's already exiting the dungeon. And obviously, the second he steps outside, everyone's waiting for him. Our boy says he thought Gabriel had retired. Apparently, the legend Gabriel Darius was planning a comeback. Ivan comments that they already figured people would be waiting, but it looked like half the server was there. Our boy asks if Linza doesn't have anything better to do than to show up with that many people. But suddenly, Gabriel pulls out a book and says he's actually there to make him an offer. Our boy calls it ridiculous to talk about offers when you show up with a mob like this. It's clearly a threat. But then, Gabriel offers him a return to the Linza Guild. He wouldn't be seen as a nobody anymore, and he even received the gold rank, something almost impossible to get. On top of that, you'd be inherited to the guild master position. Damn, the guy really offered everything. Our boy replies that apparently they're trying every trick to keep him trapped, offering him the very thing he wants to destroy in order to stop him from destroying it. Right away, he fires a shot and says, my answer is go screw yourself. But in a second, Gabriel's already behind him, saying he understands. He attacks and Ryuki blocks it. Gabriel says he was going to celebrate, but it looks like Ryuki doesn't want to accept a great offer. So to celebrate that decision, he's going to share something about the St. General Hospital, the place where Ryuki's mother died. Her death wasn't from natural causes. Ryuki shoves him away and says he's not falling for something that stupid. Gabriel responds that Ryuki can check it himself if he wants, but his purpose here is already done. He's actually more interested in the skills and items that shouldn't even exist in this game. Then he says goodbye and tells Ryuki he'll be waiting at the top of the tower. The bastard starts flying, saying that of course, Ryuki will first need to deal with all the other players. Man, he really flies off, and there's a whole crowd out there. Looks like a day in football stadium. Gabriel announces that whoever kills Ryuki will get the same offer he just gave him. Obviously, the crowd gets hyped about it. Gabriel knows the kid is extraordinary, but there's no way one person can beat 1,000. But before he can even finish that thought, bodies are already flying in front of him. He looks back, and a laser is coming straight at him from Ryuki, who tells him to stay right there. Bro, his asterisk sword just keeps getting bigger. It's a damn cannon now. The poor guys who got hit are in shock, saying it can't be possible that hundreds died in the first strike. The blonde girl insists they still have enough numbers to bring him down. Another volley of arrows and spells is launched at our boy, but from the look on his face, you already know nothing's gonna happen. The explosion hits, and in the smoke, that's where he should be. But he's gone. The players are confused. It looked like he used a return stone, but those things take 10 seconds to activate. Gabriel lands back on the ground, confused that Ryuki still had another trick up his sleeve. It was fine that he got away this time, but next time, something like that wasn't going to happen again. Our boy reappears in another part of the forest. He had used a teleportation skill. He had 5 save points, and the cooldown time was 1 hour. Man, our boy pulls up the skill list, and the thing is getting massive. The latest additions were Ancient Level 1 and SSR Limit Break. But he's pissed, saying that's way too little. This past month, he'd been working nonstop, saving up 1,000 tickets, and that's all he got. Igon says he should at least be happy he got something, but now he's curious. What's the next step? Ryuki says, obviously, it's time to start the core of the game, the tower. Man, I love tower games. Who doesn't, right? Climbing floors, good stuff. But before he can head to the tower, our boy has to clear multiple dungeons, and he's breaking records in every single one. People are getting nervous, asking what the hell Linza is doing because they're losing everything to this kid. Some comment that, as always, he's probably abusing some weird bug. That's when a red-haired guy yells that Ryuki was spotted in a nearby dungeon. But the crowd's not really in the mood to chase him. They say he was just spotted in another dungeon right before that one. By the time they get there, he'll already be done and off to the next. The NPC behind the bar asks if the guy isn't gonna go hunt him down. The guy in armor thinks it's strange. Why is an NPC interested in that kind of info? The bartender answers that it's just interesting to watch a kid being hunted by dozens of guilds while taking out every other player. The guy with blue hair asks if the old man's really okay with all that. After all, the kid's trying to destroy the very game they all live in. That's when the bartender reveals he comes from another world called Palm. Apparently, it's one of the oldest games from Yggdrasil, so this guy's been around a long time. The old man explains that he's been in and out of countless games, and in the end, you don't really have a choice but to accept that some games will disappear. Just when someone's about to ask more, someone outside calls out to all the citizens born in that world. A guy in red armor yells that this is the reality they live in. They were born in this place, and they're going to die here. That's why they need to unite and wipe out the invaders and take back their land. They call themselves the Blood Guild, and tomorrow they're going to invade the dungeons and prove they don't need players anymore. Bro, is this a guild of NPCs? This guy's getting wild, son. Back in the bar, the old man thinks to himself that these kids really don't understand how games work. He says he's about to close the shop, so the armored guy should head out too. Wait a minute, plot twist. That guy was Ryuki in disguise the whole time. And the little bear reveals to our boy that this NPC group is being led by someone named Kugan. Apparently, they've already challenged countless dungeons over and over again, but this time, they're saying they'll conquer. Now I'm confused. Do they want to conquer any dungeon or the tower itself? Aigon chimes in, saying that since they're NPCs, this is basically suicide, because they can't be revived when they die. Our boy asks if it's actually possible that they found a way to conquer that place. Aigon replies that yeah, it might be possible, especially since HS seems to be in contact with their guild. Our boy remembers the only woman in this entire world, you know who, Fi. If she's made contact with those guys, it's probably some bug nonsense again. Right away, he starts disguising himself again, saying he's getting a bad feeling about this and is going to follow them. Scene changes to the Predator's nest. The whole group is advancing, while our boy hangs back, wondering why so many people are coming along. Aigon explains that the 4-player limit per dungeon only applies to players Fi. For residents of this world, they can bring as many as they want, since for them, it's literally just a cave. But Ryuki thinks that doesn't make sense. These guys were way weaker than even the weakest players, so how were they supposed to fight? That's when a red scorpion charges in to attack, and the Knights Fi, instead of defending, they all dodge. Kugan, organizing the formation, orders the front line to step back and the second row to go in. Now these Fi, these are real players, man. These guys were risking their lives. This was what you'd call a hardcore dungeon. Ryuki is impressed. For a bunch of NPCs, they were really well organized and moved with coordination. Too bad they probably wouldn't do any real damage. But that's when he notices something strange. The tip of one guy's spear looks bugged. All the attacks were piercing way too easily. Aigon quickly points out that it's the same pattern from HS Dagger. If they could capture one, it might be able to analyze the structure. Looking at the chaos this has turned into, Ryuki starts thinking that dealing with NPCs might be even harder than with Linza. The worst part is, even though the NPCs are packing overpowered weapons, Fi, a hit to the chest, still opens a crater, and the guy, obviously Fi, is in a critical state. He's going to die. Ryuki asks what really happens to an NPC's data when they die. Aigon explains that basically they're reborn in a different form, kind of like reincarnation. But only rarely do they retain any memories from their past life. So yeah, some NPCs end up Isekai. Looks like this whole thing is a simulation. Wait, what if we're in a simulation too? Ida, Rapaz. Then Kugan pulls out a dark-looking potion and tells them to give it to the wounded. As soon as it hits the NPC's mouth, Fi, it's like Ryu-tier healing. The guy's instantly back to full. Our boy's just standing there watching like, these bastards just keep pulling out item after item more suspicious than the last. Now he starts to feel a strange unease along with a dark aura. Maybe thanks to his boosted intuition. Everyone's cheering, saying that person told nothing but the truth. With those spears and potions, they'd survive and get the job done. But then a bald guy holding a spear asks why that player gave them all this stuff. Kevin replies that not all players are enemies. Still, the true intention behind all this is clearly using the residents as pawns. But of course, they're not going to just sit there and be used. Once this is over, they plan to flip the game and take control of everything. Time passes, and Kuvan announces they finally arrived. The final boss of the dungeon, Fi, the post-McDonald's version of Beru. No hesitation, they charge in with their spears, but the monster phases into the ground. Our boy is hanging back, analyzing the fight and studying the patterns. Everyone's tense, wondering where the boss will pop up next. That's when Kugan pulls out a battle standard, slams it into the ground, and activates a radar. Damn, it really revealed the location underneath. This guy's legit. The creature realizes it's been detected and instantly bursts out of the ground. Ryuki says this detection thing is basically cheating. Ivan fires back. You're the last person on Earth who can talk about cheating. The boss slams the ground, sending giant boulders flying. If it hits the chest, you're dead. But Kugan sneaks up from behind and pierces through it like butter with his spear, screaming that victory was finally within their reach. With that, the Predator's dungeon was cleared. Standing atop the monster's corpse, Kugan celebrates, shouting that they did it. Suddenly, someone starts clapping, saying they're deeply moved. When Kugan looks to the side, he recognizes the man in the hat is John Doe, who says he can't believe they actually did it. But this guy wasn't supposed to be there, and Kugan asks what he wants. John Doe apologizes, saying that's no way to treat a friend. But right away, the NPCs raise their spears, saying they're sure he's planning to use them for something. John Doe calmly replies that he heard Kugan say he'd clear the dungeon no matter what, so no use complaining now. The NPCs could carry the pride of having fought, but they wouldn't be the heroes of this place. Kugan says he doesn't know what John Doe wants, but that the Chiefulin was just beginning. What the hell is Chiefulin? You have no clue. John Doe just throws his hand downward, saying, they took the potion. Suddenly, all the NPCs collapse, surrounded by some glitchy aura. And this little villain of the week says that the potion doesn't restore people to their original state. In fact, it creates bugged code in the damaged areas, letting the person survive a little longer, but the damage keeps stacking. Heisha's goal from the beginning was to see what would happen when the bug reached its peak. And obviously, a sealed room with 50 people was the perfect test zone. Poor Kugan. Thought he was dominating. Now he's bleeding from his eyes, asking what that bastard thinks they are. John just says, "You're NPCs with slightly better eye." Kugan collapses, yelling for him to go to hell, saying players really are all bastards. From above, Ryuki watches the guy being dragged away. John Doe's checking the bodies, calling out things like, number 32, failure. 41, failure. 21, total failure. He checks each one and every single body was a failure. Until something catches his eye. Kugan's body is being covered in a black aura and John gets excited. Finally, at least one was a success. Man, the guy starts rising up, dripping black sludge, completely darkened, muttering something about awakening the residents. Suddenly, a cocoon surrounds him and he turns into a bucket of black ink. While John Doe celebrates, hoping this first success doesn't collapse. Bam! Ryuki appears behind him, knife to the neck. When John starts to turn, our boy just says, "Don't turn your head." He better start talking. What's HS really up to? Blood starts dripping, but John Doe calmly says there's no reason for him to reveal that. Next panel, he's already spilling it. Guess he wasn't that hard to convince. He explains it all started with research into Yggdrasil's interference signals, and then it's almost complete. All they need now is the final test. Cut to another scene, 3 knights looking at a child asking if the NPC has glitched speech. But the kid replies, "I'm not an NPC. Someday he'd be just like the players, walking the world freely, fighting monsters, leveling up." The white-haired guy says he can tell the kid's serious. So why not make a bet? Back to the present, John Doe tries to attack Ryuki from behind, calling him an idiot for letting his guard down. Looks like he already figured out who our boy really is. But what he didn't expect was instinct level 2. Bro, Ryuki whips out a flashbang and throws it in the guy's face. "I told you, this bastard is the king of FPS, Phi. Let Yggdrasil drop Counter-Strike 3.0, he's ready." John Doe's stumbling around, confused. Where the hell did that flashbang come from? But now he's already getting slashed in the neck and Ryuki demands again. "What was that black thing devouring the dungeon?" John Doe, instead of answering, asks, "Why are you so mad? Are you emotionally attached to those NPCs or something?" Man, in that panel with his invisible foot, the idea was probably to show a high-speed movement, but looks like the artist got confused with the effect this time. But hey, there's the result. Smash the poor guy face first into the ground. As always, the guy tries to log out, but it's not working. Meanwhile, Kugan's body is completely black, surrounded by glitchy red cubes. Ryuki says he wants to see the guy keep acting tough after getting hacked. Better start talking soon, or he's gonna vanish. Someone tries to stab him from behind, but Ryuki just fires a bullet, saying this is pathetic. Even Ryuki is impressed with how level 2 perception lets him sense danger before it even comes. But suddenly, John Doe looks shocked and tells Ryuki to look behind him. Kugan is coming up from the back, stretches out his hand, and launches a barrage of dark energy. Ryuki's forced to fall back, wondering how this bastard is still alive. The attacks are hitting John Doe's arm, and the guy is literally disintegrating, turning into slime and pixels. Just one touch, and it was corrupting his entire arm. John starts to log out, saying he's screwed because of that damn bug, but he'll make sure Ryuki pays for all this. Aigon explains that he didn't really log out. He used some kind of dungeon escape function, the same one that let him show up there in the first place. Before Ryuki can say anything, Kugan hits him with another attack. But man, Ryuki solves it quick, landing a clean shot right in the forehead. Doesn't look like the boss lasted too long, huh? Ryuki finds it interesting that Kugan is still alive even with a hole in his head. Despite his human appearance, he was just a bundle of bugged code. Seems like Kugan's having flashbacks, back to when he was holding a wooden sword and someone yelled at him for being too slow. It was that mech from yesterday saying that if the boy landed even one hit, he'd take him on an adventure. Then his mom showed up, saying she'd been looking for him all morning. Told him to go chop some wood. But he replied that he didn't want to do boring stuff like that anymore. The people outside were waiting for him. Then man, he slashes her neck. Her body drops like trash, and the guy crouches down, saying, "Finally landed one." The NPC had been holding the item for the next dungeon. Kugan, horrified, asks why he did that to his mother. But the guy just looks confused. He thought the kid was gone. He explains they were just in town, waiting for the NPC who carried the crystal to show up. Kugan, desperate, still doesn't understand why she had to die. Back in the dungeon, Ryuki has secured the black spear and the antidote, everything needed for analysis. Looking at Kugen's decaying body, he asks if he's got any last words. He says he'll listen to his wish before he dies. Kugen says he will never forgive the players. And in that moment, he curses them all. His body begins to explode, releasing dark energy throughout the cave. Ryuki fires again, but this time the whole place blows up for real. When the dust settles, there's nothing left of the guy. And Ryuki reflects. Maybe they were alike. Maybe, if he were still alive, they could have gotten along. He just hopes that in the next life, the guy's born into a better game or a better labyrinth. Sometime later, he's asking 55 how the data analysis he sent is going. 55 replies that it's interesting data, and he's going to investigate this John Doe. Ryuki says that the time-consuming part has finally arrived. It's time to climb the Demon King's tower and finish this world's content. In front of the tower, there she is, Bisque. Or is it Bisque now? Damn translators. Hate when they keep changing the name every time. She's standing there angry because instead of climbing the tower, she's stuck guarding it. All right, boys, this one here. That's Noor, finally making her entrance after 27 chapters. A proper badass stepping onto the stage. Sure, we had Cynthia, but let's be real. We just want our boy to kill that damn snake already. Her name is Noor, and she says there's a 90% chance Ryuki will show up at the tower sometime next week. Bisque just replies that the guild master's been acting really weird lately, is definitely planning something bad. On top of that, all the support they're getting is trash, and the guild members are starting to lose their patience. Noor tells her to stay calm. The world's a mess right now. Apparently, the NPCs made a dungeon, but it bugged out and everyone died. Now the players think NPCs are a threat, and obviously, that's just escalating the conflict. Because of the bugs, all the info got wiped, but of course, people are already saying it's Ryuki's doing. She heard all that from Laguna, who kinda sees Ryuki as some new god or something. Noor even admits that having Ryuki on the team would make clearing these raids way easier. But Bisque says she'd rather stay away from someone who can delete characters. Suddenly, her expression changes when someone asks what that kid is doing there. Oh my god. The dude with 2 swords on his back is named, get this, Explosive Blade. What am I even supposed to do with that? Let's just rename him right now with that gear and the way he clearly dropped billions of cash. We're calling him Pay-2-Win. Pay-2-Win wants to know why Miss Dungeon Addict is outside the tower for the first time. He taps her on the head while she tells him to beat it, says she can't even stand looking at his ugly mug. But P2 replies that they could make a bet. Whoever kills Ryuki first gets to take Linful's spot. The two of them start bickering while Noor tells them to chill out, especially since Ryuki-related info should be kept quiet. And in the middle of this argument, a notification window pops up right in some player's face. The 3 Linza clowns are confused too, wondering if someone just passed 447. But Bisque corrects them, it's not about 447. It's a notification that the record for the first floor was broken. Bro, he beat the first floor in 18 hours. I'm telling you, you could start a whole family in these dungeons Phi. How long is it gonna take for him to do 46 floors? Or even 100? You start a family on floor 50 and by the time he finishes floor 100, your kid's already 20 years old. The crew's going nuts because the previous record was 72 hours. They're all asking, who could have done this? Like, come on, y'all acting surprised like amateurs. Obviously, it's Ryuki. Now they're wondering when the hell he even entered the tower. P2W is stunned, and Noor says that with the power he's built up, it makes sense he breezed through the first floor. P2W turns to Bisque and asks if she could beat that record. She says yes, if she restarted from floor 1 maybe. But why would anyone go back and reset their entire tower progress? Meanwhile, Noor is thinking she really underestimated Ryuki. She should have gone after him with everything she had. Wait, did you even go after him at all? Am I losing it? Do I have Alzheimer's, boys? She stares at the tower and says now she understands why Gabriel is so cautious. He's not really cautious though, is he? He should be out there hunting our boy down, not just sitting around on floor 100. Back with Igon, and he's roasting Ryuki for taking 13 minutes longer than he should have. But Ryuki fires back saying, not bad for someone who had to fight for 18 hours straight, huh? And of course, Ryuki immediately goes off on that damn robot, shooting him out for setting goals that made no sense in the first place. Also, that extra time was because they discovered new areas during the run. But it was fine. With that, the preliminary battle was complete. Not a bad result for a first attempt. But after 18 hours, man, it was time to return to reality. Suddenly, he's back in his room thinking it's been ages since he's actually returned to the real world. At least this time, he wasn't sensing anyone's presence. Ryuki wonders if maybe Akatsuki was the one who prepared the rune for him. Looks like they changed the name of 55/Suzuki to Akatsuki, and it makes sense, since he's the only one who could have set this up. Sure enough, that's it. Akatsuki calls him up, congratulating our boy for clearing the first floor and saying it was a real pain to get a room that couldn't be tracked. He also asks for a personal visit. Ryuki's confused, wanting to know why he suddenly wants to meet face-to-face. But damn, Akatsuki sounds panicked, warning him to be careful because more and more people are hunting him in the entertainment district. Even though he's pissed, Ryuki decides to go. Igon says it's madness. This sudden call, the weird voice, everything smells like a trap. Ryuki admits he doesn't fully trust that person either, but he doesn't think they betray him like that. But just then, boom, something explodes right behind him. He turns. Igon says the signal from that recently uploaded video came from that very spot. The store building is in flames and Ryuki's hiding nearby. Igon says he's not sensing 55 anywhere nearby. So Ryuki says there's a fast way to find him. Next panel, he's already beating up poor Luga again. This guy's been catching hands since chapter 1. Ryuki tells him he knows damn well he's the one who's been watching him and the shop owner since that day. He remembers what he saw in the footage. He says he let Luga off easy because he didn't think the guy would go this far. But that was a mistake. Now he knows Luga's the kind of guy who needs to be killed. Luga's panicking, apologizing, saying he had no choice. It was because of Steel Blood. That's a name Ryuki's heard before, right? Yep, the same guy he saw that day in Pleasure Alley. Luga explains that burning places down and murdering people is routine for those guys. Ryuki doesn't stand a chance. But Ryuki grabs a wooden stick and says he's not looking for apologies right now. What he wants is the location of their base right now. Just then, a group of armed men show up, telling their captain the mission was easy. They blew the place up. Of course, they come face to face with Ryuki. They seem to realize he's a nobody. And I'm over here like, what, does he just have a nobody face or something? Luke is yelling, saying they're taking too long. He turns to Ryuki, smug, saying he's screwed now. The level of gear they brought this time is on a whole other level. But man, poor guys. Ryuki just warns them he already said it once before. The sequence of skills he's about to activate. Now surrounded by an aura, he tells them, pretty soon you're all gonna be begging for mercy. They open fire, but the first splash of blood and Luga's already regretting every life decision. He starts thinking life would have been better if he'd never met Ryuki. He shouldn't have robbed that guy that night. Next panel, Ryuki's sitting down exhausted. Igon tells him he checked the cameras. It really was Steel Blood who took Suzuki. These guys are a few levels above Black Snake. In the real world, they got real power and massive intel network. And that's why Igon says it's probably best to give up on Suzuki. Ryuki, however, responds that he was the target all along, so of course he has to go. After all, he doesn't have many allies and he can't afford to lose the one person who's actually useful. Since these guys were so polite to invite him so enthusiastically, he'll just have to go meet them in person. Scene changed to the base of Steel Blood. Commander Crow says this is the first time he's ever met the legendary Suzuki. One of the guys warns him to be careful. The digital drugs didn't really work on her. And there's Suzuki, all beaten up, saying she ended up like this because someone launched a surprise attack. She didn't even have time to react. But along the way, she saw some interesting things. The weapons they had were incredibly hard to obtain, so how did they get their hands on them? Crow just tells her she's not in any position to ask questions, so he's cutting to the chase. He points a gun at her head and asks, "Where's Ryu?" Suzuki wants to know why they're hunting that boy and if they're involved with Linza too. Crow snaps, tells her to shut up, and warns that if she says anything else, those implants in her head will be detonated. But Suzuki calmly asks why he, who gave up being a player because of Gabriel, isn't opposing Linza instead. Crow fires a shot, bang, blows a crater in the wall, and tells her next time there won't be a warning. But Suzuki stands up calmly, saying that was a very interesting threat. Crow sits back down, demanding she finally tell him where Ryu 7017 is. She says she had provided him a hiding place, but obviously he already left, and she has no way of contacting him. Nalva wants to know what kind of tech he's using, because she must know something. But she explains that even though she takes pride in her knowledge, she has no idea. That kid is an incomprehensible exception, not made by humans. Crow gets up again, points the gun at her once more, saying she needs to stop talking crap. There's no way she'd keep hiding information about Ryuki. But suddenly, her expression changes. She says she was never trying to forget. She was just buying time. A floating red window appears, and she explains. This is the virus known as Trucadia, something discovered in one of the sci-fi-style labyrinths. It's a kind of seed that can be injected into the human brain, but it causes irreversible effects. At the time, she was shocked to discover that all tech-based drugs were derived from Yggdrasil. There was massive backlash, and because of it, everything was completely banned. Of course, it would be chaos if people ever discovered what else that tree produces. Turns out she was hacking into their systems right then and there, digging up everything. Crow orders them to capture her immediately, and if she tries anything funny, blow her head off. Suzuki just laughs, saying he's a coward. In another room, Crow's slamming the table, while the screen says connection failed. But honestly, he doesn't care, because he got what he wanted. He finally has the Yggdrasil item in the real world, a snow ice blade which can freeze anything. He's certain that if he can figure out how Ryuki's tech works, he'll escape this cursed pleasure district, become a top-tier player again, and rise to the top. And when that happens, he'll put a bullet straight through Gabriel's face. Asterisk man, in this story, literally everyone wants to kill Gabriel Phi. No wonder the guy's hiding up on floor 100. Now it makes sense. Suddenly, there's a commotion outside. Suzuki starts radiating a golden energy, smiling as she says, "Life is all about survival." Next thing you know, heads are rolling and everyone's scrambling to flee. Smoke fills the air and Crow manages to shield himself with the sword. But right in front of him, a whole wall of surveillance monitors lights up, and there's Suzuki on the screen, saying, "This must be quite fascinating, huh?" The only thing she had blown up was the puppet's body. Her consciousness and brain were hidden in one of those drones. He calls her trash, and she replies that she doesn't want to hear that from someone who makes a living selling drugs. Then the robots split up, and she says it's time to play tag. He slashes a few, but the others move off easily. The rest of the goons arrive, asking what happened, and right away he tells everyone to start hunting down those damn drones, because that girl Suzuki is escaping. The problem is, obviously, she easily escaped outside. So he activates Hunter's Eye, which allows him to locate targets in the area. The guys start using cake weapons and lightning weapons to destroy the Big Brother cameras. Because of that, the drones keep crashing to the ground, and we see one well hidden off to the side. Crow approaches and says that apparently the real one is hiding like a rat. And at least for Beneza, this is the first person who's given him so much trouble, besides Gabriel. He fires a shot, but obviously the barrier does nothing. Then he says he's going to stab her with that freezing sword and make sure she suffers as much as possible. The blade slowly moves closer and the drum starts freezing. For some reason, I feel like that's not the real one, you know. He freezes her completely in a block, drops the sword above, and goes in for the finish. But wait, our boy shows up to save the day, so I guess it was the real one after all. And Ryuki asks the guy, "Do you have what it takes to deal with my rage for messing with my ally?" He asks about Suzuki's condition, and Igon says she seems to be in hibernation, but she'll be fine, easy to recover later. Still, our boy's shocked. His so-called ally had basically become just a camera. It was hard to even call something like that human. Just then, more goons show up, and Crow says they got to defend this damn base. This time, the guys are all armed with Yggdrasil weapons, 5, so it won't be that easy. Then Ryuki says that earlier he was in a hurry, but now he's going to deal with this. Except he had just broken a mini-chip under his shoe. When Igon tries to warn him to be careful, it's already too late. 3 attacks are already on their way. An explosion hits, but man, the guys are already all defeated. Ryuki's there stroking the neck of the last one. Crow can't believe it. Even after catching the kid off guard, they were all taken out so easily. Then, Crow suddenly changes his tone. He says, "I have no idea who you are, kid, but the orders came from above, so I'll allow you to leave unharmed." But obviously, that lame excuse wasn't going to work with our boy. Then we flash back to that day. The day Ryuki found out his mom would die because he lost his position and wouldn't have enough money to pay the hospital bill. Man, her body would be kept at the hospital for 3 weeks, and he'd have to pay the fee to recover it. She was already dead. Otherwise, after that, her body would be chopped up and sold at the city auction. The guy warned him, researchers, collectors, and perverts would buy it. What kind of messed up world is this? Even I'm mad now, Fi. Our boy's digging in Minecraft, trying to calm down and forget what they told him. Right after that, he ran to the Minecraft mines to farm Fi. He needed money to get his mom out of there. First, he'd deal with the funeral, and only after that, accept reality. That's when someone showed up behind him and told him to wake up to reality. That even in 3 years, he'd never earn enough. So why not volunteer for a very interesting experiment? He pulls out a chip, saying it has all the security data of the city, and with it, he'd be able to infiltrate the hospital and do whatever he wanted. Sure, it was still in its early stages, but it was a great opportunity. Staring at the chip, Ryuki thinks it's madness. That hospital is extremely secure. Hacking a place like that wouldn't be easy at all. But with no better option, he decides to check the files. As soon as he opens it, he can actually see the entire city, all the data, access passwords, everything. In that moment, he's sure he found a way to get his mom out of there. Man, this is the first time I've seen a protagonist have to work so hard just to save the body, you know. It's not even about saving the person anymore. Next scene at the hospital, one of the doors opens. One of those corpse freezers, I don't even remember the name, is empty. Our boy is carrying the coffin for the city Phi. After a while, he collapses in an alleyway but smiles, saying that he finally made it happen. At least, it was a miracle. Really, it was all thanks to that weird chip. Obviously, he's still suspicious of where all that data even came from. Then, bam, he looks back and his mother stands up from the coffin. He jumps back, shocked, wondering how that's even possible. He goes in for a hug, and that's when someone shows up, clapping. What the hell? Cynthia and Linful appear, telling him that now all he has to do is come back to the guild. Is this a dream? What the hell is going on? I'm confused. Cynthia apologizes, saying now they can go back to the guild together. Yeah, something's definitely off here. His mom starts fading away, and he has no idea what's happening. He looks to the side, she's gone, and suddenly he's somewhere else. The guy behind him says that he woke up faster than expected, maybe even had fun. Of course, the test version would end quickly, and obviously, this experiment would come at a high cost. The boy looks confused, so the guy explains that the chip he used was actually a drug. He has no idea what the kid saw, but it must have been a mix of hallucinations and delusions. Man, what a bastard, he gave our hard-working Minecraft boy some tech drug just to get him addicted. But our boy's sense of justice kicks in hard, and he punches the guy in the face the moment he offers more. Too bad that back then, he had no strength. In the next scene, he's getting beaten down and kicked out. The worst part, he starts wondering how much time had passed. Back at the hospital, he finds out it's been a month, and the auction already ended. Oh my god. Now I want to destroy this whole damn world, blow up Yggdrasil, kill Linful, burn Crow, everything. Back in the fight, Crow can't understand how he's getting pressure even while using an Yggdrasil sword. He leaps toward our boy, saying he'll end this nobody. But Phi, our boy, already has a blade at his neck, saying, "You might not know it, but I've got reasons for what I'm about to do." Crow backs off, coughing and stunned, while Ryuki says it's shameful that a leader is this weak. But the clown replies that now he's going to show the true power of the Snow Ice Sword. The floor begins to freeze along with all the other subordinates, turning them into popsicles. Iganum warns our boy that, unfortunately, even with the talents he has, a wooden sword won't be enough to win this one. And the cold aura around them is draining his energy. Eventually, he'll be paralyzed. Right then, Ryuki throws a knife, but Crow blocks it, saying it's useless. Inside the blizzard, he can even track the trajectory of bullets. He lunges at Ryuki, saying that as long as he's within the storm, he's invincible. Our boy blocks the strike, but his hand and blade are already starting to freeze over. Meanwhile, Crow can't understand how the hell he still hasn't beaten this kid. Then he mutters, "You must be using some Yggdrasil item to be resisting like this." Ryuki just replies, Go ahead and keep living in that illusion. But at that exact moment, Crow activates his aura again, saying that now we'll see who's stronger, the ice sword or the wooden sword. The problem is, Ryuki couldn't see a thing, couldn't even move. And just like that, the guy was already behind him, landing another hit. Ryuki blocks it, gets knocked backward, while the bastard says he won't be walking out of there with just a broken arm. Ryuki's shoulder, leg, and waist were already turning into blocks of ice. Even so, he keeps provoking the guy, asking, "Is that all you've got?" Crow charges again, and once more, Ryuki blocks him, laughing, saying, "It's pathetic that someone using a legendary sword can't beat some nobody." Crow then unleashes the full power of the sword. Now literally everyone around them had turned into ice statues. He charges again toward Ryuki, and honestly, I don't get it. 1 second, he looks desperate, but in the very next panel, he blocks it calmly and knocks Crow's hand away. That fake panicked expression? Yeah, it's messing with everyone, even Crow himself. But in that moment, his wooden sword broke. Even so, our boy was completely chill. As long as he had a little knife, he could still activate his skills. He triggers Meteor Strike, dashing in and slicing Crow. The clown hits the ground, and Ryuki says he's sensing more items on him. And yeah, turns out Crow was also wearing black steel armor. He warns that the defense on that thing is perfect and none of Ryuki's attacks will be able to do a thing. Ryuki just replies, "You really enjoy suffering, huh? Would have been easier if you just gave up." And before Crow can say anything, Ryuki grabs him by the neck and plants his face into the pavement. Then he says, "This is the perfect chance to figure out how my powers work in the real world." Sometime later, he's using martial fists, just pummeling the guy on the ground. Crow can only remember Gabriel, calling him pathetic and saying he always planned to steal his account from the start. That's when he loses it, manages to land a kick, and sends Ryuki flying. Ryuki's shocked, and Crow draws the sword and slashes him in half. Like, what the hell just happened? Crow says that he's aiming to reach the top, even if he has to walk over a mountain of corpses to do it. He'll regain his status as a player and eventually rip everything Gabriel has away from him. And what did Ryuki do? He gave the guy the same drug back. Crow's there, delirious in the chair, asking how Gabriel feels now that he's been defeated. Later on, the police arrive and they find out that this was the place where the viruses and chips were being produced. Seeing all the bodies on the floor, frozen and doped up, they say, "These idiots deserved it for getting involved with illegal tech." But of course, there are some corrupt cops too, right? Saying, "Shame they died. These guys used to pay us good money." Up on the rooftop, Ryuki says he never imagined those people would be smiling like that. Ivan comments that now, with those guys out of the game, Ryuki will definitely be hunted even more. Ryuki said it's all good. His only real concern was getting a like on that video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers, activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.